I actually could probably leave that running. In front of me, which is in front of you, are 4 amplifiers, mini amplifiers, each with their own special talents, each with their own little quirks, each with their own power brick. And we are going to go over them. 3D waifus for the win. And we're going to discuss which one solves one of your problems. One of you's got a problem. I don't have an amplifier. One of these amplifiers will solve said problem. Boom. Starting on the left, SA36A plus. That's the whole thing. 36 watts per channel. The SA50 was the SA36 was always that. This is the 36A. Now, you'll notice there's no knob in the front because everything's digital. Digital volume control, play, pause, power, input, select, and EQ. Let's go over it a bit. By the way, I will be testing on the Emotiva B ones. Either the B ones, bookshelf ones. I don't know. They just came in. Whatever. You could. These are the passive version of the Airmotive 5s. Little harsher tweeter. On the back of this, we have a Bluetooth antenna, a 3.5mm auxiliary input, speaker outs, and power. The end. By the way, mica speaker cables. We'll be linking to these because, frankly, they make everything more beautiful. Front, you get a USB host for a USB key with files on it. You also get a micro SD card slot. So you could put a micro SD card slot with music on it. And it will shuffle play that. When we get to the SA50, you'll see that that happens here as well, and it's a little better on this one. But for now, we're going to concentrate on you alone and what you're doing. Now, I've had this amp for a couple months, and what it does on a regular basis is sit in my bedroom and through the auxiliary input, play my Sega Dreamcast on my Sony CRT, because that's how you play the Dreamcast. Keeping hope alive, baby. Dreamcast 2. Things I don't like. You don't put 5 buttons on the front, make them this small, and then on a silver fascia, use white to indicate what's going on. I can't, unless you learn it. If someone, you say, hey, could you pause my music? And they have to walk over and press the pause. They're not going to know what that is. Lower the volume. Where's the source, you ask? Here's the source. The little Shanling M1 is acting as a USB host. It's sitting over here, doing its thing. Nice little antenna means you get good distance on it. And you can raise, lower the volume, play, pause. You hold down for volume up. You hold down for volume up. You press once. Next track. Hold down for volume up. This is your EQ, which you have, that's too much bass. Hit it again. That sounds alright. Hit it again. That's not bad, that's not bad, too much bass. There's 4 EQs, and I can't tell you when they're on or not. There's no indicator. The light doesn't blink differently, it doesn't change color. It's just, I know there's flat, jazz, rock, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. So, basically, figure out which EQ doesn't distort the shit out of anything and leave it on that, and then don't ever touch that again. Put some crazy glue on it. Your input selector, it's been a while,
AUX mode.
Auxiliary mode.
Bluetooth mode.
Bluetooth mode.
AUX mode.
Oh, she won't switch to either of the front modes because there's nothing plugged in. Isn't that nice? I'm sure if there was a USB key, I don't have anything around with just like files on it. Or I throw that in there and you can see it'll navigate basically the same as that. When we get to the SA50, you could assume that that is how this would navigate. Only it won't even tell you what the hell is playing. At least this tells you what's playing. This would just be sort of a crapshoot, which I'm okay with. Cost on this unit, $65. So, $65. Tiny. Look at the power brick. Power brick also tiny. You have to note the power brick size, because we're going to get to the mica. Hasn't skimped. on the fucking brick. SMSL has, you know, they've tuned it just right. 50s gets the brick. So this is perfect for the scenario where you need... None of these others have Bluetooth. I have the last tab open here is the SMSL 8018, which I already reviewed, and I reviewed it on its own. It's got a headphone out. It's got Bluetooth. It's got NFC. It's got great 80 watts per channel power. I love that thing. Love it. I'll link that in the description. It's not here because I gave it away as a gift to my cousin who's getting married. So that's what happens. If you know me and you're related to me, you get free gifts. This, $65, so less than half price of the 8018. The only one with Bluetooth on the table. And auxiliary works as you'd expect it. You got an Asian lady that talks to you when you hit the button, in case you're lonely.
Bluetooth mode.
The Bluetooth mode is in my heart. It's making weird binky bink sounds. Now let's see if I can unpause that and play it. Unless it lost connection to that entirely. Oh. I haven't connected it to this player before. Let's see. I hit play, what happens? Going back. System. I did that thing that I said I don't like this player because I did the system thing. System, Bluetooth. One more. Audio engine, edifier. There it is. Reconnect it again. It should auto-connect. I just think I did it too fast. So for I can't wait to watch the Monogatari movies, the Kizu. Now, $65, you needed an amp that has Bluetooth and can take an auxiliary input, because I have, here's my auxiliary. Badoom, badoom. Now Emma here will play us some tunes, so I gotta switch it. I'll play.
AUX mode.
Like a flower,
A little louder on the auxiliary than the Bluetooth. That's going to be a theme today.
like a light bulb,
Of course, the buttons do nothing except for the EQ.
I'm just sitting here waiting for you.
Shut off. Now, moving up the scale. I'm not going up in price much. I mean, the prices are 64, 100, 180, and then obviously we're comparing against the $144 one. So you're done now. You're cute. I like you. You've got the smallest power brick. I'll read the power brick voltages, and this is 24 volt, 3 amps. Right? 3 ADC, 3 amps DC. The SA50 here, SA50 plus, whereas this is the SA36 plus, this is the SA50 plus. And that's running off a 19 volt at 6.3 amps. Plugged it in a second. The back has the USB host, like this has in the front, the SD card, like this has in the front, only this one actually has an SD card, a 3.5 millimeter that is the optical input and the auxiliary input. So you can't have analog and fiber optic at the same time. You can't do it. You can't plug it in. You have to swap. So that's a bit of a negative. There's no Bluetooth, which is also a bit of a negative. Nope. Do this right. Not going to wire them out of phase yet. Did I mention how much I love these little mic cables? How smooth and silky these 14 gauge cables are. They're $20 for the pair. Buy them. We're going to start off with just power. No signal, because we're going to use the card that's internally. Look at the screen, which is dirty. Thank you. Danke. Okay. It says auxiliary in. We want to change the input. Can you read this? I hope it's coming out good on camera. Hold down. Look at that menu. So tiny. You got input, SDB on and off, which is, according to the frickin' manual, it doesn't even tell me what SDB means, but it is a mode that will adjust the treble and bass based on the source, which I don't know how that's possible. But apparently, based on the source mode, it'll adjust that and it'll sound more depthy, and it actually works. I was using it. Tone, which we get to choose bass, 0 to +3. You hold it down. You go treble, 0 to +3. No negatives. You can't take anything off. You can only add. You get to display, which is auto weaken screen, so the screen will dim, or auto turn off screen, and you can set the different times. I have them set to just off. In other words, don't ever shut the screen off, because A, why would you if it looks so small and cool? And B, why would you? I'm doing reviews. Then you get the version info of the actual amplifier. So this is version 10, or 1.0, there's no period. And this is SVN 2024, and this is the date this was built, was April 17th, 2017. That's very specific. And then there's a reset to reset all the options. So go to input, and here's your 4 inputs. USB, SD card, optical in, and auxiliary. No woman yelling at you. She doesn't say anything. But we're going to switch to the SD card. And of course, permutate with zeros is on there. Let's pause that for a second. So it's showing me 44.1, 24-bit. This isn't 24-bit. Okay, we'll assume 24-bit. FLAC. It's playing FLAC. And then if you hit, now that we're in this menu, when you hold down again, you get a different menu. Well, you get input, you still get SBD on and off. Then you get tone, you get play mode, which is default, repeat all, random, and repeat track. The display is the same thing. Actually, does it only add? It only adds play mode as a thing. I thought it was a completely different menu, but all right, whatever. So here's your volume. If you're playing it, it's muted. Pushing in is mute. That's mute. It's still playing, but it's muted. Next track. The limitations on this reading off the card. It says it'll handle a 2 terabyte USB drive, and it says it'll handle a 64 gig card. The problem is it'll only handle 1,000 tracks. So, okay. If you hit next, it shows 63 out of 1,000 / 1,000. And it'll handle 3 deep folders. So I threw one of the micro SD cards in here from one of my portable media players that I was just testing, just to put it in there. And I know that they're separated into folders, and I know there's over 1,000 tracks on there. So it's reading whatever of 1,000. It's reading inside every folder. I have it on shuffle currently, and it's just whatever. So if you get one of these or one of those, if you have 1,000 songs that you know you just want to randomly hear at any point, if you think about it, a fucking 1,000 songs is a lot. I mean, this is not meant to replace like an iPhone or your friggin' portable player or the internet or Spotify. If you're going to use it for that, you could put this in a cabana away from the internet where there's just power, put 1,000 songs in it that they should only be playing next to a cabana, and then you're good. Probably Coco Cabana. 1,000 remixes of Coco Cabana. Here's the track title up here, Nitro 76 OST, track number 11, which is actually the title of it. And I have to unmute it. Mute, oh, it is unmuted. I have it just down all the way. If we play with the EQ, I can show you how bad that is. Bass. That's 1. Did you hear the 0? Wait. This is not a bassy track. This is a 70s-ish track. It's no bass. 1. Ugh. Same thing. Oh. Yeah. So the EQ on this is basically useless. A little more treble's alright. That's actually, hold on. The treble, going up in treble was actually taking away from the low end. It wasn't like it wasn't adding just treble and leaving the bass. That was actually seesawing it like that. So that's fucking mess. However, regardless of that mess, if I put this back on, can I restart this song actually? Yes, I can. And I put on that SDB, because it's off. And now I'm going to put it. That isn't the worst thing I've ever heard. Oh yeah, it comes with a remote. Did I mention it's a fucking remote? You buy this one if you want Bluetooth and cheap. You buy this one if you have a living room, because this will take an optical in and it has a remote. So it's $44 cheaper than the 8018. I'd still get the 8018 if you just need 80 watts per channel and you don't need the screen and the ability to, you can still get the 8018, but the SA50 Plus has, number one, a better remote than that. Only a little bit less power, 50 watts versus 80 watts. And you get this option, but that has Bluetooth. It's probably worth it for the 8018. This one's sort of like, why are you getting this if you got that? If you get this and that, and you get that. However, so SDB will change per track. Which, by the way, the function turns it on and off. There's been a lot of loudness buttons put on over the years in different various devices, and most of them are shit. This is the least shit of the loudness buttons I've tested. It might go a little far, and on some tracks you're just going to have to shut it off. But on some tracks I was like, wow, it sounded flat and dead until I put it on. So it's an option. I wouldn't do any critical listening with it on, but it's a clean amp otherwise. Don't play with the tone controls. Do not play with the tone controls. Look at the remote real quick. You get power, mute, up is volume, down is volume, left is last track, right is last track. That's play pause. Function basically just does SDB, loudness control. We'll call it loudness control, although they'll argue that it's far more than that, and it sounds alright. And here's your input, and then you got the mystical 3 ABC buttons that if you press B, nothing works. Nothing works. If you press C, nothing works. You gotta press A, then it works. And it's been a problem on these devices because they buy these remotes from wherever. I mean, I guess you could program to have 3 of these units in the same room. I don't understand. I mean, they don't need these buttons. They're there. And for some reason, they don't program to just all accomplish the same task of A, B, and C. So because then you got a child lock, basically. I can't change the channel, bunny. Just imagine your SO, and I don't care if you're the wife watching this, complaining about your husband, or the husband complaining about the wife. As soon as this thing doesn't work, the batteries keep dying. No, press A, then try. Then it works. So you can put this in your living room, but you're going to have that problem. I do like the fact that it's just got, I mean, I had this amp hooked up to my 90s there, the Studio 590s. So this 50 watt per channel amp, granted those are efficient, but it was nice to just have a plug. Didn't need to hook didn't have to bring anything over to it. I had a remote control. I was just sort of like, I want to hear music on those now. Click, click. Mute, unmute, volume, power. Moving on. So let's leave you plugged in, but I'll take give me your babies. Now, we all know Mica. At least you should all know Mica. They make the Mica MB42Xs. They make the Mica Origin, which that is the new G2 version that'll be getting its own review compared against the original Mica Origin, which is up there, holding money from falling down. I should have looked at the back of this before I did that. There's 2 of them here. There's 2 Mica Origins. Get it? Origin, because the gen is the generator of sound, and the gain has gain controls. They're only labeled back here, which is a cool little, I like it's a good design, but I wish they still had something on the front, because it's like, this is the cheaper one. This is $80, and what it lacks is a digital input. It's just analog inputs and a pre-out. And this has fiber optic SPDIF, it has USB, and it has the pre-out. Now, I tried to get my Windows 7 machine to play with this, and the Windows 7 machine recognized it and went through all the little check boxes, and every time I tried to play, it would go, I'm having a heart attack. So I whipped out my Windows 10 laptop, which is bought specifically to test modern hardware on modern things, plugged it in, and nothing happened. Oh, and then it was working, because it just instantaneously was working. So Windows 7 is just, I'm feeling the urge to just make this laptop not 7, but it is currently. Let's plug this in. Now, I'd like to point out again that the auric gain, 24 volts, 4.75 amps. I'm not sure, that might have been the same amount as the 8018, but I mean, this is a tiny little amp. This is the smallest amp. Legitimately the smallest. And I like the finish. As much as I like, oh, it's an aluminum case, we've seen this. This is built exactly like this. In fact, it's exactly, it's just exactly, there you go. You've got shit stacks and SML Panda stacks, and now look at that. Oh, let's put another one there. I'm feeling that, bro. There's enough knobs to beat the band. Plugging in power. Now, we're going to source this. I wish I had a fiber optic at the desk, but I'm just going to pop my adapter off. That's going to fall down. We're going to plug in left and right RCAs. The pre-out runs with the speaker amp. So you would use that, obviously, for a subwoofer. You would get a wire similar to this, or, you know, you get a 3-foot wire or a 10-foot wire. I'll link something in the description. You plug into that, and now one of these will be, well, actually both of these will be outputting signal. So you got to get a subwoofer that has both left and right RCA inputs, and then you're done. You could always, now keep in mind, you don't need to have that. If as long as your amplifier has speaker terminal outputs, and by the way, all of these have 5-way bindings that unscrew, and you could stick your speaker wire in there, so you don't need to get nice, like, mica cables, but just get the mica cables. That's a pain in the ass, and I refuse to do it. Thick cables. Where was I? I was talking about plugging in speaker. You could run speaker wire through subwoofers. Any subwoofer that has speaker wire connectors on the back of it, all you need to do is have speaker wire touch it. This amp, this amp, this amp, this amp, whatever amp, is not powering a powered subwoofer. It's just showing it the signal, and it's doing its own thing with that, and you just pass that wire out. You could actually come out of this with 2 wires if you can. A little tiny thin wire that will carry no power down to the sub, just to tell it what's going on. And then the heavy duty wire that actually powers the speaker. So that's, a lot of people come to me with that, like, hey, is this enough to power a BIC F12 America sub and these speakers? And it's like, the F12 doesn't care. The F12 is gonna power itself. You just need to be able to feed it signal. And you can feed an F12 signal either through binding posts, where it's just speaker wire, or now through the pre-out, which will vary with this. So this little thing, which is so little, probably because that is so big, that it's so big compared to how, like I say 51's pretty big. I say 36 one's like a lady. It's a gentleman. It's a gentleman lady. And that's just like a fuck truck brick. Good. So digital power. Mica, this is their first amp, so we're gonna give them a little bit of slack, a little bit of leeway as we click it on. Analog power. On the front, we get 2 switches, 4 positions, 3 choices. You're basically saying, is this analog or digital input, USB or SPDIF? So right now it's on digital USB, which means we're on this computer. So I should be able to, devices in use. God damn it. Which device is in use? Give me a second. Someone put up one of those screens that's like, doo 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 doo. Oh. Can I hit test on this? Test. Devices in use by another application. All right, we're gonna give it the old college try of unplug it and plug it back in. This is probably abnormal. It's just that I have things to do. Come on. Don't make me edit anything. She's on that. If I switch to this. That's that. I think. Yes. That's some dirty chromatics right there. So this has a DAC built in that does work. It works when I tell it to work. I'm gonna let this play music while we restart Foobar Fox. Did I try to do anything weird with it? I don't think I did. Device in use. Well, you might have to take my word in this, ladies and gentlemen, that it does work just fine. Until then, we'll discuss it. So the simpler, it's only a $20 difference between the, which one? You are the Orgain A250, and this is the Orgain AD250. So the analog 250 or the analog and digital 250, they're, again, the naming conventions are just out of this world. How do they, I'll get to how they all sound by the end of this, by the way. Interesting, like, I don't think this has it. See, this has the hole in the side, but this has the hole lined up right there, which I guess is good. There's just a massive hole in your volume knob. That one's the only one with a knob, though. What would you use this for before I get pulled for playing X-Men First God Almighty? Obviously, USB would go to your computer. If you have Windows 7, I hope it works. If you have Windows 10, it should work instantly and not have this problem. That laptop's just a pile of shit sometimes. Sometimes you're a pile of shit. It has to know that. I'll clean the screen. Maybe it'll make it feel better. Then you'd have the choice. So you basically, you get 3 input switching. What do these have? These have input switching, but not really. Like Bluetooth and analog is all you're really going to deal with on this. This has analog, optical, which you can't use at the same time. So really, I can't count that as 2 inputs. You have to choose. And this one has analog, USB, and optical, and you could just switch it all in the front. So this has the most inputs that are usable. Hello, Zeos' laptop. Doesn't get hot. This one gets mildly warm. This one gets a little warm. None of these get hot. They're very good, efficient amps. Let's see. Load that before anything else. What is this, you asked me? Quigley Down Under soundtrack. Like how sharp the edges are on this. I like to stuck with a theme. They got a theme. Here's their theme. Stick with it. Now, what you're going to ask me is, can I use that pre-out to power headphones? And sure enough, I tested that theory using the Oppo Hatu and the lovely HD 579s. And sure enough, you can use the pre-out on this through an amplifier to power headphones. The only issue is you have to unplug the speakers to do it. And at that point, at this price point, it's not worth it because you're going from an $80 amp to a $100 amp. That means $20 is adding that DAC. It means a fraction of that DAC is coming from the $20. So this is still a better DAC. And if you're going to power headphones, this is the way to do it. It can be done with this. I don't recommend it. Perfectly legit, fine for speakers. In fact, we're going to play some right now, aren't we? Aren't we, laptop? That means I gotta go digital. Told you it works fine. Told you it works fine. Just had a mild heart attack. No, that didn't change. That changed. Alright, so now we have the choice of computer. Fiber optic would be, if you had a smart TV, you could output through the fiber optic into this, and that would take care of your Amazon Prime Video, your Netflix streaming. And then you got analog, which is for anything that will output analog. Dreamcast. Back to the Dreamcast analogy. Fucking Dreamcast. No gain controls, no gain settings, no bass, no treble, no tone. Just this is. I'm so glad it's there first because it's so simple. I know in 5 years this will have like every switch, and you'll have filters for the DSPs that don't even exist. And there'll be an attachment block on top for a player that's coming out in 3 years. Look at it. Look how simple this is. It's small. It's simple. It sounds good. It just plugs in. This is number 30 ever made. I want to thank the Mica distributor for sending these out to me, by the way. I'm like, hey, you got anything new? And he's like, yeah, I got something new. Booyah. So, gains, good. We could hook this one up too, but it's basically, do I even need to, I mean, that's it. Everything's, it's the same as this, only with less features. This is the more simple. This is probably going to replace the original SA50 on my recommendations list. And the SA50 has been out forever. But the only negative I have to say about this Orgain, other than not working on Windows 7, it just has a fucking heart attack. And it loads up the drivers fine, and I'm going to go back and forth and try to fix that. But there is, at the very start of the volume pot, it biases right and then centers, which can get annoying. It depends on how quiet you listen to music. If you listen to music like this volume, you'll be fine. But if you try to like creep it down to like there, it's very biased to the side. And now it's fine. When you shut it off, that's gonna go, the device disappeared, and that's fine. I'm using Wasapi, obviously, but if I was using something else, this device would disappear, and now the next device would just take over. So that same benefit, if you go back and watch the original Origin or the Origin Plus review, I discussed that. And this is that without the extra things for 20 bucks less. This is the dumbest amp right now. This is the stupidest amp. It's just the stupidest, dumbest, simplest, perfectest. Just buy this for 80. It's well built. Comes with that power brick. Wow, the serial number is all X's. What are the odds? You like how I labeled all of them? By the way, that label maker there, this Dymo labeler, I'm going to link that in the description, because without that, I could not live. Because all these will say SMSL, or they'll say Chinese adapter, and they don't have any names on them. And when you're Zeos and you have this much stuff, label makers are king. So I think we're done. We're talking about this. Orgain will get his own. I'll sit down with this and throw really expensive headphones like LCD4s on it, because why not? Links, 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 links. Patreon in the corner. I am streaming now. There is a Twitch link. I don't want to do that thing where I release a video for like 3 hours. Like, yo dogs, I'm streaming, bro. Gonna be playing some Battlefield. I do this. This camera on my head thing is what I do on the stream. I've invested in all the hardware to make it wireless, so I could wander around, clean up my apartment, cook, do things, shoot the shit with the people who are following me. I'll even answer your questions if you throw tips at me, because I'm a monkey. I'm a well-versed monkey. Other than that, I think we're done here, right? Links to these Mica speaker cables, because look at them. They don't look as nice on camera as do in real life. They're like a bronze that's translucent. You could see the copper on the inside. And it is 14 gauge oxygen-free copper. I will shill these cables, because you know what? They're cables worth shilling. We're done here? We're done here. Moving on. Before I forget, I should have mentioned the fact that the Orgains come with a 3.5mm RCA, which you could either use as from your computer sound card to the inputs, or you could, well, that's it. You could use this out to your sub if you could do that. So it's either to use as the input or out to the sub. And the AD one came with a USB cable. As far as sound, remember I said I'd talk about how they sound at the end? Well, this is the end. They all sound fine. Fine. Perfectly fine. None of them are Emotiva bass X's. They're not giant, massive tordials, but I think for most desk setups, no one's going to notice the difference. You're not going to notice. If you are a severe audiophile, I mean like more than $100 for an amp, then you'll probably want to invest in something bigger and heavier and stupider. And down the line, you'll be like, oh, now my speakers need to go up. And that's how it all starts. And then pretty soon you're living in a cardboard box with an amazing sound system. So you could all look forward to that. Now I've covered everything? Good.